Our next inductee is Kevin Saunders. Kevin was born in Smith Center, went to Downs High School, and after competing at Pratt Community College, finished his education at Kansas State. Probably the most truly amazing story here tonight is Kevin's development as a para-athlete. Two-time Olympic bronze medalist in '88 and '92. He's named to the President's Council on Sports Fitness and Nutrition in 1989 by George Bush, later reappointed by Bill Clinton. He was inducted to the Adaptive Sports USA Hall of Fame in 2016. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Hall of Famer Kevin Saunders.
All right, Kevin, welcome. Congratulations. Maybe give everybody an update what you're up to now.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say to God be the glory for surviving that big explosion and having the opportunity to be an athlete and to play sports in high school, college, and rugby in Kansas and Texas, and all the people that are here to support me. So right now I'm a motivational speaker, author, and keynote speaker and safety speaker, because I was hurt on the job because of an accident that people made mistakes and they didn't want to correct them, and it was cheaper to take human life than to fix the problem for a few $1 million. So they had to spend over hundreds of millions to get the thing built back up after that.
Maybe for those who don't know, tell us about that fateful day that obviously changed your life.
Well, it was quite an experience. I went in there, and the first day, I was a federal inspector for the USDA after I graduated from Kansas State University, and I told them the grain dust collection systems weren't working at all. And to top it off, there was a guy taking safety shortcuts. That can be just hazardous and create chaos in many ways and cost many lives. And that's exactly what happened. So within 24 hours, they didn't do anything. And they said, we don't have time to do anything. And they didn't. And 24 hours later, less than 24 hours, the place exploded and killed 10 people and blew me out of the roof over a 2-story building, over 300 feet, onto a concrete parking lot. So I landed on the back of my head and my shoulders. My skull was fractured, my scapulars were fractured, my legs were blown over my torso, so my body was broken over at my chest like you bend in the waist to touch your toes. So, I truly say it's a miracle, and to God be the glory for all my accomplishments.
So going from that when do you decide I'm going to be a world-class athlete?
Well, it was kind of by accident because my brother, older brother Gerald, who was the CPA near Atlanta, Georgia, invited me to come run the Peachtree Road Race. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's a 10K road race. It's one of the largest in the world. And he said he'd seen athletes racing there the year before. So I trusted my instincts, and I went. And I got on the plane. I just grabbed some racquetball gloves, a pair of warm-up pants, and a T-shirt, and away I went for Atlanta, Georgia. So when I showed up in the starting line, I was in my old hospital chair. Y'all know the kind, right? The big old bulky, clumsy, heavy wheelchairs. That's what I used for my racer until I got to the starting line and I saw these guys in what looked like drag racing wheelchairs. And they looked at me and they said, "Hey, buddy, you better get in your racer. It's almost time for the race to start." Well, I looked back at them and I said, "Hey," I said, "I'm already in it." I figured I could beat those disabled guys with an old hospital chair or not. But, you know, when they fired a gun on that starting line, I bared down on that old hospital chair and I took off. I tried to burn a little rubber on Peachtree Street there in Atlanta, Georgia. But when I looked up, those guys in those racing wheelchairs were almost out of sight. And at the largest 10Ks around the world, which Atlanta, the Peachtree was one of them, over 50,000 people, they start the wheelchair athletes 30 minutes before the foot racers. And if a foot racer catches a wheelchair athlete, the wheelchair athlete must immediately leave the race course for safety reasons. So I was pushing and I got to mile 4, I found out later. I didn't even know what a K was. We were converting from yards to meters, so, you know, I'd heard a special K, the breakfast cereal, but that's about as far as I got with the Ks. But I was at mile 4, and I looked up and I saw this hill. It was about a 45-degree angle and about a mile long. And to top it off, there's a sign at the bottom that says, "Cardiac Hill." So I looked at my racquetball gloves that were shredded, and my hands were blistered because I'd been training anaerobically with my rugby buddies. One of them's here tonight from Texas, Robert Hayes. But I was ripped up like Rambo, but I didn't have any aerobic ability. So when I looked at my hands and I looked at that hill, a mile long at a 45-degree angle, and I looked at that sign again, said "Cardiac Hill," I said, "No way, I ain't going to make it up that hill." But, you know, we all get at the bottom of the hill, you know, in life sometimes, where we get into those hills and those obstacles we think we just can't get over, no matter what age we may be. But for me that day, what brought over the spirit and the motivation is they was playing some music on the side of that hill. It went something like this. Dun, 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 dun. You can hear it. "Yo, Adrian!" Right? And I could see him drinking that glass full of raw eggs and beating the beef in the meat locker and breaking the ribs on those sides of beef. And something just come over me. So I started to inch that old hospital chair up that cardiac hill. And when I finally topped over the top foot runners went by me as I started downhill. And I could see the finish line. But Kip Kano from Kenya and Craig Virgin from the USA went around me. I was running alongside them for a little while, and I thought, this is pretty neat, but I thought they ran the 10,000 meter. I never heard of the K. And then all of a sudden, this great big lady come off the side of Peachtree Street in Atlanta, Georgia, and she grabbed me. And she says, "Hey, you got to get off the race course right now." And she had a Peachtree Road Race official T-shirt on. And she said, "It's the rule." And I said, "No way, lady. I come this far, and I'm not going to stop now." So I pushed loose from her grip, And I wasn't going to, after going up Cardiac Hill, I wasn't about to stop. And I had downhill, and I could see the finish line. But this in the 80s was before I thought I didn't see any big bag with a cell phone that this lady had. So I looked over my shoulder, I saw the gap widening, and I thought, she's never going to catch me to that finish line. But I think she must have had some kind of radio communication device on her, because she radioed ahead and got 3 more race officials that looked just like her. So they set up that defensive front 3 that we'd run at Kansas State when I was working with Bill Snyder sometimes. And, I had to think back to my college football days. I got some college football friends that I played with that are over here tonight. But I had to run for that weak spot of that line. And I got through that, but then they got 8 more road race officials, and they got their hands all over me. And they pulled me from the race that day. I never got to that finish line. But, I tell you, I had tears come to my eyes when I didn't, because I never not finished anything in my life. I'd always been an athlete. Sports were always important to me. So I really wanted to get to that finish line. But that's the day that I ordered one of those drag racing wheelchairs. And I set a goal, because the 88 games were coming up, the Paralympics in Seoul, South Korea, where they held them in conjunction with the Olympic Games. And I put down on a piece of paper that I put up in our house, my room, and I said, medalist Seoul 1988. And I learned how to train and how to eat right to be a top wheelchair athlete in the world and be a Paralympian and a Paralympic medalist.
That's awesome. Great inspirational story. Absolutely. You had a chance to work on the President's Council for Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition under President Bush and President Clinton. What a great honor that must have been.
Absolutely. I enjoyed being with Bill Clinton. He's a lot of fun to hang around with.
I can imagine.
But, there's a lot of great people on the President's Fitness Council, and you get to meet a lot of great people that are professional athletes in sports through a gamut, through the NFL, the NBA, the Olympics, just the people that you come in contact with. You meet quarterly at the White House, so it's there's like a 2,000 people waiting list. But when Bob Dole nominated me, and I'll be forever grateful to the late Senator Bob Dole and for nominating me for that position. And I went straight to the top of the list, and I passed Mary Lou Retton, and her husband got mad because she said Ronald Reagan had promised a spot to her. And I said, well, I didn't know if they knew it or not, but George Bush was president now. So I couldn't do anything about what Ron said.
Hey, before we let you go, anyone you want to thank, anything you want to say here before you leave?
Well, I'd just like to say I don't think you can achieve any great goals without the support of your family. And I'd like to recognize my wife, Dora, my son, Stephen, his wife, Robin, our grandson, Don Vaughn, and my wonderful brother, Dwayne Saunders, out there in the crowd, and my cousins, Dennis Thrash and his son, Tanner, and my friends from high school and college that always challenged me to do better, to work harder, to be the very best, and never stop fighting. And Coach Bill Snyder, who I got to be around for over 20 years, as he asked me to be on the coaching, and about detail. Trifle is no perfection, and perfection is no trifle. So I like that saying by Michelangelo.
Kevin, you're such an inspiration to so many people. Congratulations and welcome to the Kansas Sports Hall of Fame.
Thank you.